Hi guys and welcome back. It is the most wonderful time of year. It is my first Halloween video of 2020 and I'm really excited to be filming Halloween videos again. So let's go ahead and jump in. The first paints I'm going to be using are water activated. They're by Mehron and I'm going to start with the green and the white. I also have a little, it's like a grease paint palette. Ooh, there, yep, it begins, guys. The shit show begins. But I also have this just in case I want to dip into some colors and use the grease paint. But my favorite way of painting my characters, I guess is what I would call them, is by using water activated paint. It is very beginner friendly. The color can be built up. So I just dip a Real Technique sponge into the water and start building up the colors on my face and my neck. I am following a Medusa reference picture that I found online and just recreating the look that's in the picture. And she is very highlighted. So I felt like in the beginning when I was painting on the green that I went a little heavy-handed because she is not a very dark green. So I wanted to make sure that I really lightened this green up. And I know right now it looks a little patchy and uneven, but don't worry, I will go in with eyeshadow and even all of this out. Exactly, I'm going with eyeshadow, evening it all out. But I did take that white to give my face some highlight underneath of my eyes, on my forehead, on my nose, above my upper lip and my chin. And then as you saw, going in with a eyeshadow. This is actually the James palette and Morphe collab, and taking that green and just starting to build and use the two greens that were in the corner of the palette. And as you can see now, I'm going in with the white that's in the palette, but the white really wasn't giving it to me. So I had to go in with the Jeffree Star Jawbreaker palette to use that white, but actually that wasn't doing it for me either. I just get extremely picky. So I do eventually go in with another eyeshadow palette that I knew would make that white and that highlight pop on my face, just like in the picture, and just kind of follow the coloring and the shadowing and the highlights in my reference picture. Now I'm going to be using a black grease paint and just taking a more fluffy eyeshadow brush and just start to stipple the product onto my eyes. I do want to mention that what I love about Halloween videos and doing Halloween looks is that nothing has to be perfect. And you can kind of make things your own and things can be sloppy. That's why I love doing Halloween looks. And in the picture, the way that her eyes are blacked out, it is not very, I guess I should say it's more sheer. It's more on the sheer side. It's not very pigmented and it's very blotchy, very uneven. So that is kind of the look I'm going for here. The grease paint is really easy to work with and I'm able to smear it out and make it look like the picture by using the brush and tapping along with my finger and spreading the product out. I then take a black eyeliner and go ahead and line my waterline, and then I jump back into the James Charles and Morphe palette and take some of that dark green because I did notice that there was some dark green on her eyelids and in the area that is painted black. So I wanted to give it more depth and dimension by adding some green to that black. I then take my black eyeliner and go ahead and line the top of my lash line because I feel like it needed more depth, and also on my upper waterline. And then remember when I told you that I needed a very pigmented white to really set this look off? The palette that I am using is the Pure X Raw Beauty Christy collab. And if you want a pigmented white, this white will get the job done. I mean, just take a look. You can see it's really brightening the look up and making that color match my reference picture almost to a T. I love it. Because of the white eyeshadow, I did have to go back in and use the black cream paint because it kind of took it away. So I wanted to go back and add it again. And then I went in with the green from this palette I got from Amazon. I will link it down below. It's a knockoff Makeup Forever Flash palette. In my opinion, a lot of people like to use it because it's more affordable, but I just take the green color for my lips. I also got this snake stencil from Amazon just because I wanted to make my life easier. Of course, you can paint the scales on, or you don't have to put the scales on at all. It's totally up to you. But I just wanted to make my life easier by buying this stencil. It really was not that expensive, and I know I will keep it in my little Halloween drawer and probably use it in the future. But this made it so easy to put these little scales on. I did kind of mess it up a little bit on my neck. You just have to make sure to keep it in the exact same spot, hold it very tightly on both sides when using it, and unfortunately I didn't do as well on my neck with holding it, but as you can see on my face, it turned out really, really good. I had dipped back into the Morphe and James Charles palette. I began by taking the yellow on the outer part of the stencil and then dipping into the darker green and the lighter green. I did feel like it needed a little bit of a boost, so I followed the picture and used the white Mehron activated water paints to basically paint in between the scales to make it pop just like the picture. This was a little time consuming and got kind of difficult when I would reach certain places on my face and my neck, but I think it really brought the look together and made it pop. So I think it's definitely a step that is worth taking if you have patience. In the picture that I am following, Medusa is crying, and if you know anything about the story of Medusa, apparently she was taken advantage of by Poseidon, and then Athena turned her into this ugly, creature with snake hair, and she was able to turn people into stone if they looked at her. So I wanted to make my Medusa cry as well, just like in the picture. So I'm using the Mehron Sweat and Tear, I think they're like drops, to make me look like I'm crying. Now I'm just slicking my hair back and prepping it for my headpiece, which I will show you how I made shortly. So I'm just clipping my hair back, and then I take some black hairspray paint. Oh, well, there's my headpiece right there. So I'm just trying it on, kind of seeing where I need to spray my hair so that my red hair isn't showing. And then I go in with some black hairspray, and this stuff is awesome. I did try and go in with my water activated paint, and black started running down my face. So I would recommend using any kind of color hairspray when you do Halloween looks, just because it's easier and saves a lot of time. And then I'm painting my ear because I didn't think my ears would be showing at first, and I hate painting my ear with paint just because the feeling and trying to get it out, and it stays in your ear even after you shower sometimes. But I realized that I didn't have the snakes covering my ears, so I had to go ahead and paint my ears. Now moving on to how I made the headpiece, I will say that this was very time consuming and took me about 2 days to do just because of waiting for the paint to dry on the snakes. But I got all of my snakes. What, Christy? Learn how to talk. I got all my snakes on Amazon. And I got different sizes and just spread them out back in my backyard. And believe it or not, I started this project in August so that I would be ahead of the game this year. So I went ahead and took that green spray paint and just started painting all of these snakes green. Later on in the evening, after the snakes were dry, I went in with some black spray paint and wanted to put diagonal designs on them because with just having the green paint on the snakes, it made them look really flat. And again, following the reference picture, the snakes were colored green and black. So I just kind of used this little diagonal technique here and put some black on these snakes. I let the snakes sit outside overnight, and then the next morning I went back out there to paint the other side of the snakes black. Once all of the snakes were dry, I then started to put the headpiece together. So I used some black wire cutters, and then there's all my snakes. I have this headband. This is the thickest headband I could find on Amazon because I needed it to be pretty sturdy. And then I got this little metal piece. It was pretty cheap. I think it was under $2 from Home Depot, just to give it a little more sturdiness and be able to build the snakes on more than one level of the headband. And then my hot glue gun and then some extra glue just in case, you need the extra glue. I've never made anything like this, so I begin by trying to figure out how I want to attach the metal piece to the headband. And I learned very early in this process that the hot glue does not keep this attached to the headband at all. So I will eventually have to go in with the wire to make sure that it is attached. I will say that using the wire is your best friend, and I used a lot of it. But I tell you what, these snakes were not going anywhere in the end with this headband. It was a very sturdy headband. It wasn't as heavy as you would think it was because I did attach a lot of snakes to this headband and to the little metal piece. And I just think that this was a great learning experience and very easy to do. So I just followed the reference picture like I've done all along, that you've heard me say about 50 times during this process. But I put the snakes where I think they need to go, like it is in the picture, and mainly use the wire. I do make sure to put the wire a certain kind of way underneath of the headband and wrap it around. That way you don't have the wire pieces, going to stab you in the head when you wear the headpiece. So just be careful when using the wire, and just put the snakes and pile the snakes on where you feel is necessary. And again, this is my first time doing this, so I am far from an expert, but I think in the end it looks pretty darn good if you ask me. I did end up bringing a mirror out so I could keep trying the headpiece on to see where I wanted to add some snakes, just so that it matched the picture more better. But after about a half hour and piling the snakes on with the wire and some hot glue, this is the headpiece. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and me showing you how I did the makeup and the headpiece. And I look forward to doing more looks for you. So keep an eye out, subscribe, like this video, and I look forward to seeing you on my next one. Thanks for watching, guys.